Hello, dear viewers. I've been making a lot of meme videos lately, but today we're gonna talk about something.
Something very, very important.
Okay.
Definitely important.
Yes. You see,
We could save cancer with this knowledge.
well, maybe not cancer, but
We could save bad stories with this knowledge.
yeah, that's good. You see, I've noticed a lot of times over the adaptations of Dracula, some misconceptions that people have about the book, and even kind of people who supposedly read it. Even though if you read the actual book, you would know this to be false. Now, this is going to be super deep. I'm not going to go into, like, Van Helsing's hair color or something. I'm just going off of general points of things that people should know. I'm going to try not to get...
Even people who read the book don't seem to actually
like,
read the book.
And what better place to start...
Like the equivalent of reading Moby Dick and saying that the whale was blue.
Yeah. Like, and we're gonna of course, the only way to do it is to start from the top. Part of what I'm saying is Dracula himself. It's a very common thing to say, oh, these vampires aren't like Dracula. But there are some things that people forget about Dracula that's pretty obvious. One, Dracula can be in the sun. Some things have acknowledged this, but Dracula has no problem being in sunlight. Some of his powers, mostly shapeshifting, don't work in the daytime.
Even mostly accurate adaptations of the book get this fact wrong, and it really just makes it look like people haven't read the book. It's basically the equivalent of saying that Legolas loves dwarves from the very beginning, and unlike all the other elves, he's a super big fan of dwarves.
Yeah.
That's basically the exact same thing.
But this concept kind of makes some sense, as a lot of the vampire stories, especially even for the time, were weak to sunlight. But
it's not a bad story plot either.
Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. Vampire mythology has tons of that, like kind of thing. But I'm just saying, if you're trying to say this is from the original book, or this is how Bram Stoker Dracula's vampires work, you would have to acknowledge that at least Dracula is perfectly fine on the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't his problem. He has other weaknesses, but that's not one of them.
No, that's true.
Another slightly minor difference that some people kind of misconstrued about the movement, it's very minor, especially compared to that, is that a lot of stories will try to somehow get around the whole why does a crucifix, like, hurt vampires or repel them.
Because, Lord.
Like obviously it depends a lot. Obviously this story is heavily reliant, but no, it's not because of the belief in the individual. It's straight up because, God. Like, obviously, this one's heavy malleable, but...
I don't know why people who don't believe in God are so annoyed by this. Like, if you believe that there is no God and the earth was just made by sheer luck, which, by the way, do you really think that the earth could just come out of literally nothing? You really believe the earth could, being this beautiful, could just come out of just random dumb luck? Anyway, point being is that that's basically, oh my gosh. If you believe that God is fiction, what's wrong with God being fiction?
I don't think a lot of stories that change it around necessarily do it because they want to,
yeah, they don't want to bash, but it's kind of a strange thing to do.
But the point is, like, if you're making an original, if you're trying to tell us something directly about vampires, it's, like in the book of Dracula, it's not a question if God exists, because they can literally just point a crucifix at a vampire and it will pretty quickly show it.
And not to mention, most people believed in God back then, and still do, but,
Oh, and just to be clear, no, whether a vampire is repelled by a religious authority or usually a Christianity, it's not based on the religion of the vampire or the user. It does not seem to work for other religious aspects. It's only really works for Christianity.
Plus, in most depictions of vampires, whether Dracula related or not, though we're talking about Dracula, usually, regardless of whether or not someone believes in, God, the vampire, of course, believes in God because they're a byproduct of God. I mean, no, the hell, and if you are from hell, you probably would know about heaven.
It's just like a minor thing I just wanted to state because a lot of stories do change that around. Another thing I want to kind of talk about a little bit here is a little something it does kind of... I've heard some people try to say that the three suitors are supposed to be, like, in some kind of relationship with each other. They aren't.
At best, they're friends. At best.
Oh, and the book is, I stated, they're friends. They're friendly with each other. They're friends outside of the whole situation with Lucy.
Yeah, but at best, they're, like, super good buddy friends. Oh, wait, what was that movie? Monster Squad? What was it called? Anyway, at best, they're Monster Squad.
But, like, they were definitely close friends, or at least friends. I don't know how close you call them, but they weren't in their own relationship. That wasn't a thing.
They were after the Lucy.
Yeah, they were all after the same chick. And speaking of Lucy, small little thing here. I've seen some people try to claim that in the original book Lucy was supposed to be like a slut or slept around, or and that was why she died because it was showing that like oh if you're a slut you'll die. Have you read the book? Like no.
Like that is literally the worst. That proves that you have not read the book. I have read a synopsis that that shows better of Lucy's character than that.
I've read the entire book in its entirety.
I never read the entire book.
And
but
you
I've
read like a
parts of it.
version of it that cut out some of the details, Emma, but it also has these nice pictures, which I love.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. But point
I
being
can watch an
is,
entire cartoon now style.
you could read a summary on the internet, and you would know that Lucy is not a slut. She's not a slut.
Lucy's whole stick.
Also, what's wrong with telling society in stories that being a slut is wrong? Because, you know what? Sex work isn't real work. No, okay, it is real work, but it's shitty work. And you should be ashamed for doing it.
Well,
and I am perfectly 100%. Oh, I'm getting into a rant. Point being is, it's perfectly fine to slut shame, and if you do it, you're a good person. Yay!
We're not getting into that, but the point is, the whole point in the book is that Lucy is supposed to be super innocent, and
that's her downfall.
Yeah, and if anything, but the thing is, nothing Lucy did is what killed her or got her turned into a vampire. She was a victim of circumstance.
Yeah, not everyone's fault. Only when they die.
I mean, everyone did everything they could realistically, but in that situation,
bad stuff just happened. Like in how real life, you can't always choose. I mean, you can do your best, but the worst can still happen.
Yeah, and the whole point. And Lucy's death or all that stuff, it wasn't a ha ha ha. Look, the woman got what's coming to her.
We killed the dumb slut.
It was far more that an innocent person had to die, and killing the vampire to free her soul was the best thing that anyone could do.
Yeah.
It was like if they could have cured her, they would have cured her on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that. It was
she was too far gone.
It was the only way to save her soul. You know?
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Oh, and this kind of also bleeds into it just a little bit. Quincy is just a character. Like, I could go into a whole other video about how I find kind of it weird that Quincy gets annoyed, and I know I've made literally a game about him, and I plan to use my other stories, and I fully admit that Quincy isn't the most important or interesting character, as I do flesh him out a bit whenever I use him as a character.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that almost every single adaptation forgets he exists is kind of humorous to me when he's the guy who killed Dracula.
I know, right? What that one meme like? It was something like, "You young kids aren't even reading Dracula." In the original book, Dracula was killed by a cowboy. Wait, or was it something like, back in my day, Dracula, or was it like, no, it was like an anime thing, and some anime character killed, like, Dracula, and like, back in my day, cowboys killed Dracula. Like, or something like that.
Also funny, if
that must be one old person, oh my god.
Also, fun fact, Quincy Morris, in the book, was one of the few kids who had previous vampire experience when he had to kill his horse because of vampire bats. Which I guess work differently in this universe, but I just find it kind of cute, but I won't go too much into why I find it annoying that Quincy gets omitted, because I can kind of understand it, but I'm just saying, if you're saying you make a 100% legit adaptation of Dracula and you forget Quincy, you're doing it wrong.
Oh yeah, like, if you think you got Dracula wrong, right, and there's no Quincy in it, you're doing something wrong.
And time for another little detail. Mina and Dracula did not love each other. Not even a little bit. Not one tiny little bit. Dracula was turning into a vampire and drinking her blood sheerly as a power play. You mean, well, not a power play, just as because he's an evil vampire.
Vampires do what evil vampires do.
Mina did not love him at all. There was not this, oh, but I'm married to Jonathan, but I love Dracula. That never happened in the book.
Oh yeah, it's like the whole King Khan thing. Like, people making King Khan a better, more likable, or more romantic. Like, saying that he is. When, like, I think people forget in the original movie, when he was looking for the woman, I don't know if she even had a name, he reached into an apartment building and picked out a woman, and he realized it wasn't her, and he threw her to her death. Like, King Kong is not a likable creature, and Dracula is not a likable creature. Anyway, whatever. Murderers! They're murderers! And they murder for self-gain. Or, no, indifference!
Also, this is another sub point. Some versions have made it that Lucy and Mina were in some kind of relationship. They weren't.
Yeah,
they were
like,
friends.
I mean, I'll admit, they have a lot more chemistry, I guess, than the three random dudes. You know, but that's not saying much.
Realistically, though, I'd love to see a very faithful adaptation. Add a small scene where we get to see the point when like all the three suitors propose to Lucy on the same day. Because that sounds like such a funny scene.
That would be something funny that would come before all the not fun Lucy dying stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be how we introduce the three suitors, like in a TV series. Like that's how we meet all of them.
That'd be goofy.
That would be funny. We're not talking all misconceptions in the book, just a few of them. Oh, and Van Helsing was not some kind of action hero who was an expert on all vampire knowledge, and he wasn't. He was a nice older gentleman who knew a little bit about that, and then proceeded to go dig himself in a library.
Exactly. You know, he's not vampire killer extraordinaire.
I mean,
you know,
I like, for example,
I like the idea.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like, I don't really hate this one too much, as usually...
It's kind of good storytelling, in a way. Sorta.
Yeah, you can definitely make the claim that Van Helsing is more interesting as a character if you give him this trait. But I'm just saying, if you're making a 100% adaptational...
No one's ever made a mostly... no one's really made an adaptation faithful to my personal, liking. And I'm not even that hardcore.
Someone can make a... Someone can make a really good claim that the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula, the name more recent movie, could be considered the most faithful adaptation because the events mostly follow the book, but the theming is so wrong. They get something so...
What are you talking about? Sorry, I wasn't...
Is the more recent one...
Is it on Netflix?
No. That one's a mess. Like, it literally is a flame mess. I haven't even seen it, and I refuse to see it because what I've seen of it is so nonsensical. Like, it literally butchers...
Wait, well, what's up with that scene in the beginning? When they're, when, like, female Van Helsing is, like, was it John? Yeah, John.
Poor John.
Like, John, if he had, like, sex with Dracula, but he never had sex with Dracula in the movie. What are you talking about? And I don't know why this bothers me so much. Maybe my messed up brain just goes to that immediately. But I'm like, out of all the things, what is my biggest pet peeve? Because that never happens in it. He dies before, whatever. And
also,
it hurts my brain in very particular spots. Also, I like that one. Oh, actually, we're not even going to talk about it. Like, talking about Netflix Dracula is like giving yourself lung cancer purposefully.
Yeah. Also, literally in the third episode, just straight up starts ripping off Helsing. Like, straight up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like, almost verbatim.
Rip off.
Like, I would hope, I just worried for yourself that Alucard doesn't show up and start kicking your butt. You know what I mean?
Oh, the creativity well for people who think they're smart is an endless, empty abyss.
Yeah. We don't talk necessarily about Netflix's Dracula, but...
That thing is, like, purposely raping your own brain.
Yeah. But that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. This all came up because I was actually watching a review for Netflix's Dracula that made the claim that Lucy was saying how, like, oh, Lucy was a slut in the original book, and her death was supposed to show this kind of thing. Like,
was that from that chick, like, YouTuber?
No, it was, dude, if I can remember what the video link was, I'll show it. But that didn't happen in the book. It did not happen in the book. That wasn't the claim in the book. Lucy was literally...
Lucy was innocent.
If she had any flaw in the book, it's like that classic, almost Mary Sue type thing, being too innocent. Like, she's not Mary Sue because, you know, otherwise she probably would punch Dracula in the face like a boss.
Dracula slapped him like a fly and he flies out of her.
I'd love to see a version of Dracula where it, like, follows from his perspective, where, like, the first part's exactly the same, but then right when he starts trying to attack Lucy, all the main characters become, like, action cartoon characters. Like, they all, like, have extraordinary...
Someone's gotta make a dating simulator with Lucy.
Yeah.
Like, where she's the main character. And you play all of her... You know, you have to pick between her three suitors and maybe some other characters that aren't romantically
involved. And Mina's like the tutorial guide, or the person who, like, gives overviews of what's going on.
Oh, no, maybe, like, it's like a flashback or something like that. And you get the tutorial... And you get the tutorial by, her telling you about the time... John courted her or whatever, I don't know. Something kind of, sort of, maybe cool like that. I can't really think of anything all that funny.
Okay, sorry for that little interruption of the last few seconds. I had to deal with something. But
it's
yeah, I would totally, I would like to see, Emma, you're dating Dracula.
You're Lucy dating Dracula Cinema. Too bad I don't have a game that would be good for that, but I have RPG Maker.
Yeah, we got that.
maybe.
You can maybe do something with that, maybe.
Oh yeah, like a weird.
Hey, but could there be an ending or something in it where like we do the right things with Quincy or just randomly coincidence, like Quincy from like My Game series / Future Stories
Oh.
shows up and like starts beats up normal like that Quincy from that story is like a joke for some reason.
Yep, that'd be super duper romantic.
Like it'd be a super rare condition that happens where like the just right and just when like the end like he shows up no it's like is this the right timeline?
I guess it is.
Like oh no it's a vampire cloning. I know that'd be funny, but we're going off topic a bit. But
Very on topic.
But yeah, those are just some of the misconceptions in the book, and there are definitely more, but they get a lot smaller. And I'm no scholar on Dracula.
A scholar on Dracula. Yeah, I'm not a scholar in anything else, but at least I'm a scholar on Dracula.
Yeah, I went to college.
I went to college. Sorry, but I'm a Garfield historian. Sorry.
Which, to be fair, I'm pretty sure having a degree in Dracula or vampireology would probably serve you better than a gender study degree ever would. Hey, see you later.